I care about you. Why would you say I don't? Hi everyone, welcome back to another Scotty Karate video. Today we're going to be going over 5 ways to show your students that you care about them and their progress. Having good students is always a plus. Making good students is always hard. So a lot of people take the lazy approach and just hope they get good students that walk through the door. Problem is most students you might be getting might not be great now, but with some coaching and development, maybe they'll be your best. You need to know how to do that, and why. Well, that's what we're going over today, is basically student retention. And the main reason a lot of students will stay at a dojo, even if they're, what's the right word here? I won't say disinterested, but just not feeling training, is going to be the camaraderie and the things that you as an instructor do to help them. So, if you're an instructor, pay close attention. Some of these you might be doing without knowing. Some of these you might need to think about incorporating. Students, these are things that you should be looking out for too, because if you are seeing these types of things in your dojo, maybe suggest it, and if they're unwilling to do these types of things for you, maybe it's time to move on to a new place. Top on our list, and number 1, is going to be having a website. So having a website is very important for a martial arts dojo. This is not new. 20th century has come and gone, and you'd be surprised how many current dojos that have reputable teachers, students, awesome everything, awesome facilities, equipment, don't have a website. Or if they do, it looks like the website was made in the early 90s. You know what I mean? So you have these opportunities that you could be losing instantly. Number 2 is going to be personal interaction. Now, this sounds like a duh, but it's not. Okay, so you'd be very surprised on how many dojos you go into and you never talk to the instructor. I mean, I'm serious. I'm not talking about you go out and have beers afterwards. I mean, don't even talk to. You will go into a lot of places and they have either so many students, or this instructor is maybe burnt out. They've been doing it for so long that they just don't care anymore. Or they just don't have the time in their own personal life to dedicate any extra time for a student that's dragging behind or having issues or what have you. Personal interaction. So what that means to me is make sure you greet all your students. Right? That's something I always try and do. If you have new students, make sure you get their name. You introduce them to the rest of the class. Nothing makes someone feel more special than being propped up on that pedestal and letting them know, hey, look at John. John's our new student. Make sure John's, having a good time, show him the ropes. And it kind of brings them into that, the brotherhood of martial artists, because that is something that is just amazing. Being able to sit down and go, well, I can count on those guys forever. Those are my karateka. I got their back, they got mine, That camaraderie is part of it. That also extends to the instructor. So if you're the instructor, you might want to reach out, start making those personal interactions. If you see a white belt that's struggling, just doesn't understand something, it's not clicking, or maybe they're not showing up as much as they should be to progress as fast as they would like. Maybe pulling them aside and say, hey, let's talk about what's going on. And it might be something simple, like they have, work that's interfering, and some that you can work out, different times, maybe set a special class up. I mean, there's all sorts of different things, but those personal interactions will make the difference. And that will make someone stay, if they've even gotten in the door, longer, just because now they know you care about them and their personal growth. Coming in at number 3 is going to be assignments or homework. Now, I know what you're thinking. Scott, no one likes homework. I don't want to give them homework. Or, what homework could you possibly give them? Aha! That's the question. So, a lot of people truly believe once you start a dojo, you go in, that's when you train, you go home, and that's the end. And that's not. Anybody who's been training for any extended amount of time will tell you, no, you train at home. You learn at school. Because then at best, all you have is the little bit you did in class versus all the things you did to build up that foundation at home. So homework is key. And this could be as simple as just assigning them something, going, okay, class, before we all leave for the day, make sure before you come back, you do X amount of exercises. Say front kicks was a focus that night. I want to see everyone come back and they've done 100 front kicks by this time next week. Give them something that they go home and go, okay, I was told I need to do this, let me do that right quick, or let me look that up, or let me research this. And it makes them always kind of stay in karate mode, in that, learning mode. Because if they turn off as soon as they walk out the door, that means they did no progress at home. And then they come back and they fully expect to make progress in class, which means they don't learn as much because they're trying to catch up. So give a little homework, and that way you have some kind of, pullback too. Because if you gave them homework, say, I want you to do this, or I want you to have studied, or I want you to, my favorite is go learn, read the 20 Principles of Funakoshi. And I want you to come back with one example, how it affected you in real life. That's awesome. First off, it pulls in history, which a lot of places don't do. 2, gets into, the mental aspect of it, of seeing the old principles and pulling them into their modern day life. And 3, and this is most importantly, it gives them a deadline. If you say, by next Tuesday, I want to see everybody back with, the Principles of Funakoshi read, and I want at least one example of one you liked or spoke to you, what have you. Now, in their head, they have to come next Tuesday. They have to. They have an assignment to turn in. And that's how you get that retention. You keep that, person coming back. So number 4 is one that you probably already do, but you might not think about it as something that will help engage with your student as much as it is as a student being engaged to by the instructor. So either way, whatever side of the spectrum you're on, is going to be personal time. Now, like I said previously, some instructors, they don't even talk to their students at all, which means they come in, they say, Hajime, they start their class, stretching, doing drills, going over forms. They stay at the front of the class. They might at some point peel off to work with the black belts or brown belts, and then the rest of the class is just left to do the repetitions or go through the motions. It's something that you need to set time apart and go, okay, I'm going to go work with John for 5 minutes. I'm going to go work with Sandy 5 minutes. Tim, 5 minutes. And so on. Just enough. Get that personal interaction. You get over there and go, you're doing X kata great, except for you're not going deep enough in your front stance. Let's work on that. Let me show you how I do it and how I, get your knee over your toes, blah, 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 blah. But that personal interaction. Okay? That's something that a lot of places will actually charge for, where they'll go in and say, okay, you want a private lesson? Is what they'll call it. Pay whatever money they're charging for that. And then you'll come in for, say, 30 minutes or an hour, and they teach you just one-on-one. That, in my opinion, should be every class, if possible. I understand some classes have, 100 people in it, and that's just not possible. But you can still make the effort. So if you worked with Jeff last week, maybe not work with him this week. Work with someone else. That way, everybody can get some one-on-one time with the instructor, and that way you can learn directly from them. You get personal interaction. You get that understanding that they actually care. You're just not going to a lecture at a college where there's so many students in the bleachers that the professor doesn't even know your name. That's never a good feeling. But having that professor, or in this case the instructor, walk personally over to you and go, we're going to work on, this kata today. Let me see it. Let's see if we can pick out a few things that we need to work on and improve them for you. Instantly, you build that bond because you now have personal interaction with that instructor and that student. Number 5. And I put it at the bottom of our list because it's not one that I think you have to do, but it is something that does give that camaraderie and build that relationship so the student feels like you care about them. And that is going to be text messages or any, phone whatsoever. So if you have an email system for your dojo, excellent. If you don't, have a group text. Just have a little thing, ask them if they want to be a part of it. They say yes, just add their number to the group text. When you send out announcements, boom. So, case in point, if you assign them assignment like we talked about earlier, and you want to remind them, hey, don't forget tomorrow, Tuesday night, we're going to be going over the 20 principles of Funakoshi. Have you done your homework yet? Those interactions make the difference. Not only you, but all the other, say, senior students or instructors, or maybe even other students, depending on how you want to set it up, can then engage in it. And it makes that conversation a group conversation, which means everybody's involved. And you know what that means? More retention, because now everybody's involved in it. And if they know, John's having trouble with his break falls, and he's got questions about how it'd be possible to use in a real fight or whatever scenario, well, now the 5 people that, was talking to him through text, well, now they're going to go, well, I need to go to class on, Wednesdays because John's always there. And we need to go over that because I don't think he's getting what I'm talking about. Now, not only have you retained John and you got him to come to more classes, you have other students that might be kind of wavering off, in the time period they've been there. They're kind of stepping out. Well, now they have a reason to come. They're like, no, I don't think John's getting it. I want to make sure John gets it. So that's our list. Pretty simple list, but something that you should think about. If you're a student, if your instructors aren't already doing something similar to this, you might suggest it. Instructors, if you aren't doing this, you might implement it. Like I said, it only helps. It will only engage and get your students to feel more involved with the dojo, which will make them come more, which will make better students. That way you don't have to hope that a good student walks through the door. You make a student that walks through the door a great student. If you like the video, please like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell in the corner so you know when my videos are posted each week. And, as always, the more you train, easier the fight.